he comes, here he comes. There's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hop along, Cassidy, here we go.
Last April, a Wells Fargo stage headed for Tucson with $50,000 in gold was held up by daring bandits. The driver was killed, but no trace had ever been found of Harry Gordon, the one-legged shotgun guard. Then 6 months later, with the case still unsolved, hijackers struck again, getting another large gold shipment from the mint and killing more men. As acting marshal of Twin Rivers, I formed a posse, but a careful search of the territory disclosed no clues. The next day, I made out my report to Wells Fargo, suggesting that if they'd find Harry Gordon, we'd have the brains behind both holdups.
Hey, Holly, read this.
I'd known Jim as a child, and it had been hard for me to see him sent up. But the evidence was all against him. At the trial, Ted Clark, Ben's foreman, had sworn he saw the boy shoot through the window at his boss. Jim's shotgun was found nearby. Also, a note for $500, which he owed Samuels, had been discovered in the rancher's desk.
Kid must be out of his mind. Why do you suppose he wanted to go and do a crazy thing like that for?
To prove I was railroaded.
Jim.
Reach.
Jim, you must be out of your mind coming back here to Twin Rivers where everybody hates you for killing Ben Samuels.
I did not kill him.
And I never railroaded anybody either.
Sit down. I'm not blaming you, Hoppy. You did all you could for me. Well, it's just that everything happened so fast and so much evidence piled up against me that I almost believed it myself. That's why I broke out, to come back here and ask if you'd help me to prove that I'm innocent.
Jim admitted hating Ben ever since he'd shot his pet dog, claiming it had gone mad. When the boy insisted the man was no good, he was ridiculed. Everyone knew of Jim's feelings. That's why they'd been so ready to accept his guilt. The $500 note had been a forgery. He never knew how they got his shotgun, and Clark had deliberately lied about seeing him shoot Ben. They wouldn't listen to Jim's alibi that he'd been on the trail of one of the Wells Fargo holdup men.
Wells Fargo robbery. That was just a day or so before Ben's murder. It's quite a coincidence, eh, Hoppy?
Yeah. What made you think you were on the trail of a holdup man?
Well, I'd been rounding up strays, and it was almost dark when I heard a horse whinny behind me. Turned around to see who it was, and I saw a masked rider tearing off toward the hills. Well, I rode after him for quite a time, but he was too fast for me. Then Clark and some men rode up and accused me of murdering Ben.
Jim, for a lawman, this may seem strange to you, but I was never convinced that you were guilty of murder. So ever since you were sent up, I've been working on an idea that might prove that you didn't kill Ben. Now that you've risked your life to come back here, I'm going to do everything I can for you. But remember this. I still represent the law, and as far as I'm concerned, you're an escaped convict. If this thing isn't cleared up immediately, you're on your way back to the penitentiary. In the meantime, you're in my custody. Is that understood?
Oh, sure, Hoppy. And thanks.
Folks here in town find out about him, Hoppy. They'll lynch him as sure as shooting.
Yeah, you're probably right. We better take him up to that old line shack till I figure out what to do. Think you can get him out of here without anybody seeing you?
Oh, you know you can trust me, Hoppy.
Yeah, I know. Now, first I want to question Clark. That's Frank's foreman.
Frank? Who's Frank, Hoppy?
Ben's brother. He came out here from St. Louis for the funeral and stayed on to run the ranch.
Yeah, he did so well he was able to buy up most of the town. He even took over the bank when it failed.
I didn't even know Ben had a brother.
Yeah, spitting image of him. He's as blonde as Ben is dark. I'll go out and take a look and see if the coast's clear. Yeah, everything's all right. Come on.
Thanks, Hoppy.
See you, Hoppy. keep your horse hid around behind. I'll bring you some grub from town as soon as I can. Remember, keep out of sight.
I will. Thanks, Red.
With Jim's story and the recent Wells Fargo robbery fresh in my mind, I kept wondering if there might be some connection between Ben's death and that first holdup. There had been killers around. Maybe they hid out at Ben's, then killed him when he discovered them. Maybe Clark. It was Ted Clark, the man I'd wanted to question. He'd been shot in the back. Doc Weston was out on a call when I got Clark back to town. By the time he returned, it was too late. Before the body was removed, I'd asked the doc to extract the fatal bullet. It was from a .30-30 Winchester. Frank Samuels had hurried over from the bank when he heard the news. He ruefully admitted a dozen men in town had similar guns. The man was visibly shaken by the death of his foreman.
I can't understand who'd want to kill poor Ted.
No enemies, huh?
Well, none I know of except Jim Adams, and he's in prison.
Funny thing, I was just on my way out to ask Clark a few questions about the Adams case.
What for? That was all settled months ago.
Yeah, I know. But after this last holdup, I got thinking maybe there was some connection between Ben's death and this other robbery.
Impossible. Jim waited till Ben was helpless with a broken right leg. One I'd set that very day, then shot point blank through the window at him. Never saw a face so banged up.
Well, maybe Ted was in with the holdup men. When Ben heard about it, he was murdered. Jim would have been the logical goat.
My brother always wrote to me how much he liked and trusted his foreman. And Clark, all the time he worked for me, his conduct was beyond reproach.
Oh, it is kind of funny, though, him being killed after this last holdup.
Oh, just a coincidence. He couldn't possibly have had anything to do with the Wells Fargo robbery.
Well, maybe I am on the wrong track.
I'm afraid you are, Cassidy.
While you're here, Frank, might as well take along your bottle of tonic.
Good idea. I'm arranging to have Ted buried on the ranch alongside of Ben.
Well, that's a nice gesture, Frank. Well, there you are.
Thank you, Doc. I sure hope you solve Ted's murder, Cassidy.
I'm afraid I've got a lot of things to solve.
Well, I'll have to get back to the office.
See you later, Frank.
Well, thanks very much, Doc. It's been very interesting. While Red rattled on about Clark's murder and that Jim was safe up at the shack, something in the back of my mind kept bothering me. The last time I'd been in Weston's office was when Red had a stomachache from eating too many flapjacks. I wondered where Doc got the money to refurnish his office so elegantly. He'd been drinking a great deal lately, and I knew his practice had fallen off. Then it hit me. Weston had mentioned Ben's broken right leg. That dead body I had seen had a broken left leg. That point never came up at Jim's trial. Come here. Sit down here. What's the matter? Stick out your tongue. Say ah.
Huh?
Oh, no.
What's wrong?
I'm going to have to get you over to Dr. Weston's for a thorough physical examination.
Me? Examination? What for?
You don't look too well.
Oh, I never felt better in my life, Hoppy. I don't?
No, that's got me worried. You're not a very good color. Your skin's kind of green.
Yes? You know, now that you mention it, I don't feel so good. I feel kind of squeamish.
We better get you over there and see what he'll prescribe, huh?
Don't feel very good, Hoppy. We better get over there.
Yeah. While Red was in the other room being examined, I searched through Doc's papers. I had to work fast. Glancing at an account book, I was surprised to find large fees charged to Frank Samuels. Why should such a healthy-looking man have so many doctor bills?
Again. Once more. Your heart is perfect. And so's your temperature. Nothing wrong with you except you eat too much.
I always say, Doc, I'd rather die of eating too much than to starve to death. Hey, that reminds me, I got to get some grub out to Jim.
Jim?
Yeah, Jim's my cat. She's going to have some kittens. Got to have a lot of milk, you know, when they're having kittens. Oh, Jim's short for Jemina.
Well, don't worry. Cats have 9 lives.
Well, how's my boy, Doc?
Fit as a fiddle.
Ah, I'm glad to hear that. Say, why not give him some of that tonic Frank uses?
Why, yeah, sure. Can't hurt him.
Yeah, it'll make him think he's getting his money's worth.
Oh, Hoppy, I don't need it. I feel good.
You'll be all right now.
Oh, but Hoppy,
I sent a wire to St. Louis, then decided to ride out to Samuel's ranch for a look around.
By the time you got here, I was beginning to feel my ribs.
what are you doing outside? I thought you was going to stay hid.
I thought I could at least get some water for myself. Did Hoppy talk to Clark? Has he found out anything?
I'll tell you what's happened as soon as I hide my horse. Here.
Gee, Clark's death sure doesn't help my case any.
No, but don't worry. Hoppy will think up something.
I hope so.
Seemed to me I heard shots in the distance, but I wasn't sure. Then the sound came again, and from the direction of the line cabin.
slugs. You got any?
We're coming in after you.
That won't be necessary. Drop your gun.
Hey, that's Hoppy. Come on.
Get over there.
Boy, are we glad to see you, Hoppy.
Sure are.
Pick up their guns. There seem to be a lot of trigger-happy men around here lately.
We saw horses hit out and back. Figured the Wells Fargo robbers was holed up here.
Then why didn't you make sure before you started shooting?
Hey, wait a minute. Don't you two work for Samuels?
Sure, been riding for him for over a month. He'll vouch for us.
I'll bet he would. Give them their guns, Red.
But Hoppy...
Give them their guns. All right, get out of here.
Why don't you arrest them, Hoppy? I'll bet they're the thieves themselves.
But there's somebody with more brains than they have back of these holdups. Jim, I think you'll be safer in jail. You better wait until it gets dark and bring him in. We waited until dark, then Red and I smuggled Jim into town and locked him up. This morning I'd received an answer to my St. Louis wire confirming my suspicions, but I needed more evidence. Warning Red to keep his mouth shut and his eyes open, I once again was headed for the Samuels ranch. As I passed the bank, Frank was just entering. Luck was with me. Ben Samuels was buried up there by those trees. This was an unpleasant task, but it had to be done.
I knowed Hoppy should have arrested you, bushwhackers.
Where's the fellow we saw up at the shack?
Still up there, I suppose.
Oh, no, he's not.
What did you do with him? Where's Jim Adams?
Jim Adams? He's in the state penitentiary, I suppose.
Not according to the wanted poster we saw in the post office. Take a look around, Burke.
Well, what do you know about that? Right under our noses all the time.
So he was in the state penitentiary, huh?
Now, if your two men will come back in a couple of days, I'll have the papers drawn up for you and you can sign them. Well, hello, Cassidy.
Hi.
Any news of Ted's killer?
Can I talk to you alone?
Sure, come on in my office.
I've got a better idea. We'll take him over to the old fort. You're gonna get the same thing you gave Ben Samuel.
I didn't kill Samuel!
I see. Now, here's something that might interest you. I just got this telegram a while ago from the Wells Fargo agent in Tucson. Says he's got a hot lead on Harry Gordon.
Harry Gordon?
You remember him, the one-legged shotgun guard that disappeared after the holdup last April.
Oh, yeah. What kind of a lead?
Well, he says that somebody here in Twin Rivers tipped him off that he was here in the vicinity. The agent's coming over to investigate.
Well, I hope that bandit doesn't try to hold up my bank.
Oh, I don't think...
We'll take care of this ourselves. 1, 2.
Nobody's taking the law in their own hands while I'm marshal here.
You won't be marshal long. We don't want a law officer who hides out criminals.
Don't forget that I helped send Jim to prison as a murderer. When he risked his life to come back here and tell me he didn't kill Ben Samuels, I gave him the protection he deserved.
Don't let Cassidy hoodwink you. He's always had a liking for this kid. Don't you remember how he fought against jailing him? Have you forgotten what a good man Ben was? And that coward killed him in cold blood. Shot a helpless invalid without giving him a chance.
I've got 2 guns here that say nobody's going to touch that boy.
I'll drop him the second you try using him.
Maybe you should explain your reason for wanting Jim out of the way and why Ben's death concerns you so much.
Why, you...
Oh! I have more reasons than anyone for hating Adam. But like Cassidy, I don't go along with mob rule.
Bobby, here's the 2
Never mind,
you on
Red.
the head.
Tex, you and some of the boys get Doc out of here. All right, break it up.
I'll take care of these fellas, Cassidy.
You better get them on their horses, pay them off, and get them out of town.
All right, follow me, fellas, I'll pay you off.
Red thought I was crazy for not locking up the 2 men. But after I explained why I hadn't, he changed his mind.
Now start off like you're leaving town. Get the wagon and bring it around back, and hurry. Dick, come here, will you?
Yes.
Take this over to the post office. I wanted to get out on the next stage. I'll tend to things here.
All right. Someplace, Samuels?
I was just checking the bank's funds.
Property of the U.S. Treasury. Bank's funds, huh? You also got a little careless about having your hair show dark at the roots. Or do you really drink that peroxide the doc gives you as a tonic?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're under arrest for murder and robbery. You got any more ideas now, or you want to come along quietly?
Hey, Hoppy. They backtracked just like you figured they would. We sure surprised them.
That's good. But, Jim, you better start giving Ben here some pointers on prison life.
Ben Samuels?
In the flesh.
But we buried him. This is Frank. Look at his blonde hair.
It's a bleach job. There is no Frank Samuels from St. Louis. This man is Ben Samuels. He held up the stage and killed Gordon. Gordon is now buried in the grave that was supposed to have been Ben's. All right, come on. The same judge who had sent Jim to prison had presented the new evidence to the proper authorities and had received from the governor a full pardon for him. Jim had now been appointed by the judge as foreman of the Samuels Ranch until the estate could be settled. I explained why I had grown suspicious of Doc and Samuels, that Clark had been shot at for the last holdup in a fight over the spoils. When I planted a seed of suspicion against Doc, he was killed. Ben had built up a false life over a period of years, and the only one who'd suspected him had been Jim.